Hey, I'm so excited for day 9. You have no idea. Well, now you do. It's day 9 of my 15 minutes to change my method. My method. A lot of people use this method, but this is my method on how to change your life. So today we're talking about how to break old limiting belief patterns by using role models. Now, you might say, oh, role models. Well, I don't know if you'll say that, but this is one of the ways that I help myself and I've helped clients. We talk about what role models are really interesting and speak to you, that inspire you, that make you say, I really dig what they've overcome. I really dig the hard work that they had done, or the way they think, the way they live, whatever that role model idea means to you. Now, I'm going to give you an example from my own life, because that's where I'm most experienced at, besides the one-on-one clients over hundreds that I've had. So when I was looking to break a lot of mental patterns, one of the tools is using a role model. And practicing it is a little bit interesting. So yes, we're on day 9. Talking to myself here. Why do we have limiting beliefs? Well, we're usually programmed of limiting beliefs just by being around people that are also thinking in a very similar pattern. So if you're around family or friends that have a certain mindset, we tend to kind of assimilate to those people that are around us. So if you are around people that are negative, or people around that are judgmental, most likely, unless you're the black sheep, you tend to become that person, even if you don't really like that person, or the feeling that comes up for you. And not that you don't like the people that you're around, but this is what I mean. So if you grow up in a family that had just had limiting beliefs about money or about love, like my family had a lot of, like, you have a minimum cap, there's a bare minimum of lifestyle, there's a bare minimum of like how your relationships are going to work. My mom, God bless her, like, she didn't have much faith in men or relationships, and that's why she didn't have healthy relationships with men, and she stopped dating at a certain point. So those are things that I learned, and I somewhat internalized for a very long time. So practicing changing those beliefs to not being limited. The ego loves to be limited because it keeps you safe and it keeps your identity formed. You can always change your own identity. You have that power. You are not set in stone. You are not a rock. And that is a wonderful thing to know, because when you look to role models, the reason why people who are famous, or people that are on, I guess, social media or whatever you want to call it, are so tantalizing and so interesting is because there's something a part of them that we want. And whether you know it or not, if you see something in someone else, good or bad, you have that within you. That's not always a good thing when it's negative, but and if you're judgmental, that means you're really having a really large playlist of negative loops in your head. If you are very judgmental about others in any sort of fashion, that means you're really judgmental about yourself. And you can reel that in with the previous day 8. But day 9 is about using role models. It could be your parents, if they were really great. It could be somebody that you work with that is like so fantastic as a person. It doesn't even have to be as dramatic as that, but in terms of, for me, I used, I have notes. The reason why role models are important is because they are helping you expand what you know to be true, to help you see that your ego plays tricks on you. Because the ego plays tricks on us in this way. Oh, they had money. They grew up nice. They didn't have any issues growing up. That's why they got to where they are. That's a trick. Because if you actually learn about your role models, 90% of them, and even the ones that came into money, no one on the planet has not had something to overcome. Now, it could be ego stuff, it could be insecurities, it could be just family dynamics that you will never know about. Everyone on the planet has a cross to bear, so to speak. You don't have to be Christian. It's just the idea of like everybody has lessons that they're supposed to learn in life so they can grow. That means your role models, especially ones that you really look up to or really like, wow, I'm impressed by them. I'm amazed by them. It means that you have that ability within you. If you don't look up to people, that's something to check in with yourself as well. But this is another topic for another day. Today we're talking about role models. One of my role models that I looked up to, I didn't know them in person. Her name was JC Duggar. She was kidnapped at age 11, and she was held captive for 18 years and tortured and raped and stuff like that. And this might not be a pleasant topic to talk about. But now she is thriving, she's survived, she's happy, and she's living her purpose wherever she is in California. And I read her story. She wrote a book. And if you really want to take a look at her story, the reason why I picked her is because I needed somebody that went through hell and back and came out of it, to help me to know that I was strong enough to do that in my own stuff, my own wounding, my own stuff. And I haven't gone through a tenth of what she had gone through in her particular experience, but I knew how to reframe that and take it and use her strength for my own. And that's the whole point of role models. It's not to put them the freaking pedestal of like, oh, they live in a private jet or whatever, not live, but you know what I mean? Like they fly private jet, big deal. That's a big deal if that's a marker of success for you. And really who they became in reality to get to that point. And it really, in reality, it doesn't cost that much to rent a private jet. It really doesn't. I think it's like a couple grand. So remind yourself, everything is possible. It depends on what work you're willing to do around it. So, just reading my notes. I apologize. Role models do not need to be this traumatic, because I needed somebody that progressive. You get to decide who your role models are, and it doesn't have to be a famous person, but and getting to know that person. So this is why having one-on-one relationships with people that you admire, if you're lucky enough to have those, it could be a grandparent. If you knew that they went through World War II or the Spanish flu, or somebody that you work with, whomever that you really look up to and be like, wow, they went through that and they could get through it. That means I can. Now, that's a lot of work, but to see that you have that same strength, you have that internal, everybody on the planet is made out of the same stardust. We are all human and we all have the same capabilities. Now, obviously, we all have different starting points and quote unquote limitations. And I say that with an quote unquote because the idea of limitations is what we're breaking through with. Because when I worked with clients, I used to work with individuals with disabilities, physical disabilities, mental health disabilities, etc. It helps break your ego patterns of like, oh, I can't do this. When you see somebody climbing Mount Kilimanjaro without any limbs, think about that. It's not to shame you into saying that you're not good enough because you didn't climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It's to remind you that you have that same internal strength that person had to get through the physical, the mental, emotional exhaustion that it takes to do something of that feat. And your life does not have to be Mount Kilimanjaro. It just could be, I want to follow my passion project. I want to change my life. I just want to be happy. What's the work that it takes to do that? You have that inner strength. This is why I use role models in my client work, because it's essential to give you a boost to know that you're not alone. People have been through it. People will continue to go through it. And you get to share that in the collective if you choose. And I encourage you to do so. So let me know in the comments, who's your role model? And it can be someone as superficial as you like. Superficial is relative because everybody has a judgment on what that is. So you get to decide who is going to inspire you and how you're going to use their energy in the world. Because that's why there's so many lights. That's why we're supposed to do whatever we're called to do. This is why this is why I do what I do. I'm supposed to talk to you about my struggles and about the work that I've done with clients, and more and more and more, so you can do and feel empowered to do the same. Whatever that means for you. If that means you're gonna save a life, or you're gonna start a doggy shelter, if it means you're gonna open up an ice cream store. I don't know what that means for you. It could mean just living happily and getting over anxiety, or moving forward in your life with something that you might be carrying for the rest of your life. It's all to empower you to know that you are not stuck. I hope you enjoyed day 9. I keep looking at the clock. And I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. Bye.